There should be 6 players to participate in the game. 3 stations were consisted inside the game, and 2 players were assigned in every station. Every station has questions scattered on the ground or every corner of it. The task is to find the questions, and each player should answer all questions in just 5 minutes. Failure to finish the task will be given a corresponding punishment. Good luck!
Hi, so do you trust your partner if you can finish this task for 5 minutes?
5 minutes? Going Tamar? Maybe?
Hello, so do you trust your partner if you can finish this task for 5 minutes?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that she can finish it.
What did the resource teacher do to apply the principle of learning, which is effective learning begins with the setting of clear and high expectations of learning outcomes? Answer that question. Before the start of activity or lesson, the teacher explains the process, the outcomes, and the expectations throughout the lesson. Next one. Two. What did the resource teacher do to apply the principle of learning, which is learning is an active process? So to answer that question, the teacher promotes engaging and encouraging activities or drills before or during the class. What did the resource teacher do to apply the principle of learning, which is learning is the discovery of personal meaning and relevance of ideas? So the teacher asks students prior knowledge about certain topic and relates it to the real world and or gives example to have a concrete idea for the next lesson. What did the resource teacher do to apply the principle of learning, which is learning is a cooperative and collaborative process? Learning is enhanced in an atmosphere of cooperation and collaboration. So whenever the teacher gives an activity, the teacher incorporates group work in every activity. That's what happens inside the classroom. So what principles of learning were most applied? The most applied principle of learning is the discovery of personal meaning and relevance of ideas while, What principles of learning were least applied? Principle of learning that is least applied is the learning is a cooperative and collaborative process. So where could this principle be applied to? So principles I mentioned which are the discovery of personal meaning and relevance of ideas, and the cooperative and collaborative process could be applied out of the classroom. So, for example, the students were scheduled for a storytelling inside the library. The teacher can relate the story to a real life situation, and after that, the teacher can encourage students to do a group reading or sharing of their experiences or relevant ideas towards the whole group. So from among the principles of learning, which one do you think is the most important? The most important principle for me, is learning is an active process, because the three principles will not achieve if there's no engagement, and learning comes from the things they personally discovered or do, and this will sum up to the realization that principles are interrelated through an achievable lesson and activity. The learning outcomes were identify changes in materials, whether useful or harmful to one's environment, demonstrate understanding of the concept bar graphs and simple experiments, able to interpret simple representations of data, explains the outcomes in an experiment, and 5, able to evaluate whether changes in a material are useful or harmful to one's environment. And these learning outcomes were SMART, objectives, and achievable. To have an evidence. For first learning outcomes, which is the identify changes in materials, whether useful or harmful to one's environment, the teacher conducts an activity or drill after the class discussion, and it is to identify if the materials are useful or harmful to one's environment if they were changed. For the second learning outcomes, the student understands the lessons through answering the questions asked by the teacher after the discussion or extension time. So the third outcome is the evidence in mathematics activities. Students were able to create and interpret data through an activity. For the fourth outcome, after the group experiment, each representative of the group explains the process and outcome of an experiment. For the last outcome, the teacher conducts a test after the discussion related to the usefulness or harmfulness of a material into the environment. Yes, through SMART objectives, the lesson is more achievable and focused, because in a lesson discussion, it helps learning become specific, relevant, and time-bound to be directed to the students. Doing or creating SMART objectives creates the learning process more focused and achievable. Through this, the teacher manages the time for a specific topic and targets the desired outcome intended for the students and competency. I'm done!
Number 1 question. What are possible consequences of teaching purely subject matter for mastery and for the test? Next question. While some learners, particularly slow learners, may find it monotonous, some pupils, particularly those who are at the top of the class, may find it engaging. I thought that low achievers needed a twist to help them grasp the lesson. Let's go find another question. So the second question, if you were to reteach the classes you observed, would you be teacher-centered or student-centered? Why? To answer this question, if I were to teach the class I observed again, it would be undoubtedly be student-centered, because based on what I've seen, some students aren't exhibiting much interest in or participation in class, and I think that needs to change. In order for your students to comprehend the lesson, you as the teacher must develop various techniques or strategies that can hold their interest throughout the lecture. To assist our students thrive academically, we as teachers must identify strategies that can support the different learning preferences of our students. So, let's go for another question. Ooh, I found it! Lord. For our third question, what teaching learning practice shows that teaching approach was a constructivist, inquiry-based, developmentally appropriate, reflective, inclusive, collaborative, and letter G, integrative? So to answer this question, so first let's go on with the letter A, which is the constructivist. We know that constructivism is connected to past experiences of learners constructed new lessons meanings. So in constructivist, learners were asked to draw parallels between a scene from their activity and actual events. So in letter B, inquiry-based. Inquiry-based, I had faith that students would be sufficiently curious. And letter C, the developmentally appropriate, it means that learning activities fit the developmental stage of children. So the tasks assigned by the teacher show the students' developmental stage. And letter D, reflective. As I've indicated, the students learn to apply concepts to actual situations, that is reflective. And letter E, inclusive, means that no learner was excluded or teacher taught everybody. So my resource teacher assigns every student their own task and reviews it individually. And letter F, collaborative. It means that students worked together. So in collaborative, in order to gather viewpoints, the students work together to identify. And lastly, letter G, the integrative. It means that the lesson was multidisciplinary. For example, in science, math concepts were taught. In this, the students make an effort to apply their course or subject to certain other fields of expertise. So that's all. Let's go to another question. Let's find it. Found it. Okay. So to answer this question, first, did teacher lecture all the time? The answer is no. Were students involved in the teaching learning process? How or were they mere passive recipients of instruction? The students participate in all of the activities and are highly engaged. So the second question, was the emphasis on the mastery of the lesson or on the test? Prove. The emphasis on the mastery of the lesson, was the emphasis on the mastery of the lesson or on the test? Prove. The emphasis is on the mastery of the lesson. The reason the students understood the lesson so well is because the teacher went into greater detail about what the students needed to know through an exercise, and my resource teacher added specific examples as well. So, for the student-centered, what's the emphasis on students' application of the lesson in real life? Give proof. The answer is yes. My resource teacher will pose a question and then request that her pupils link it to a real-world scenario. The third question for teacher-centered goes this way. Was class atmosphere competitive? Why? Yes, as they are showing interest and actively engaging in the class. For student-centered, question, was class atmosphere collaborative? Why? Yes, because they do participate in group collaboration activities. And the final question for teacher-centered, did teacher focus only on one discipline or subject? Yes, because she solely teaches Filipino and ESP to the class or during that time or period without mixing or integrating another subject. Like if she's going to teach the Filipino subject only, no other subjects or discipline are integrated. For the last question for student-centered, did teacher connect lesson to other disciplines or subjects? The answer is sometimes when they find it relatable or it has a connection to that another subject. So that would be all. So we are done with the questions. Yes, congratulations.